All right.
Right.
So we are going to roll into deal breaker or disagreement.
Okay. All right. I don't know what we're talking about, but
This is going to be good.
let's get it going.
Yeah. So as I think that the chat room, and that's why I definitely thought that that would be an ideal question because conflict kind of rolls into like a disagreement, really much. Like that's pretty much what it is.
I'm gonna take this off
It's a
because.
disagreement.
Excuse me. All right.
Yeah. So a conflict pretty much like is a disagreement.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to really step back and you have to look and you have to decide, is this a deal breaker or is this a disagreement?
Yes. And I think for that, it's good to have. I was gonna say it's probably good to have like to know what some of your deal breakers are up front.
Gotcha.
But then again, that's also a double edged sword because things a lot of times, and you know, I might get a lot of hate mail on this one or whatever, a lot of anger, but a lot of times, women will have these lists of deal breakers. Like it needs to be this, gotta be this, and this. So I was gonna say, have your deal breakers up front, but a lot of times those lists don't pan out to be 100% true, right? So the things that you say are deal breakers don't end up to be actually deal breakers. So that can be like the downside or the negative to having your deal breakers up front, instead of taking them as they come. But I don't know. I guess you kind of like gotta.
Yeah. So I think that when you say like a list,
Mm-hmm.
I think that
You know you got a list, but you know you had a list. Every woman has a list.
I feel like every person that has taken time to really like be by themselves
Mm-hmm.
during their single season,
Mm-hmm.
you should know things that you absolutely
Yeah,
cannot deal with.
there
So
are
I think so
deal
I think
breakers for
that
sure.
for
Yeah,
sure you
there are
should have.
definitely. Yeah.
So now I think just in reference to if you write it down or if you mentally have it in your head, I think that all people have things that they want or don't want or they're going to disagree. I mean, like a deal breaker.
What is a deal breaker for you?
Deal breaker for me is cheating. That's a number one.
Okay.
That's a deal breaker.
What's a deal breaker to even date somebody? Or are we just talking about in a relationship deal breakers?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think there's both. I think there's deal breakers in dating, and then there's deal breakers in like in relationships
Mm-hmm.
too. Some of the deal breakers I think up front, like just in dating someone,
Mm-hmm.
that may be like a preference for you. Like I think that you can have deal breakers that are like a red flag. But it may not be like a deal breaker, like I'm ending all right now. There are some deal breakers that you need to like slow walk. You need to see more in action, or you need to like, okay, I saw this on the first date. Is this like really one of my deal breakers, or was this like he had an off
Mm-hmm.
day or off night or whatever? But for me, like I said, cheating is one of those things that is just kind of like deal breaker.
So
Um,
there's never exceptions?
I think the only exceptions sometimes are like again deal breakers. It's like you sitting down and you're like, okay, is this a
Mm-hmm.
deal breaker,
Mm-hmm.
or is this something that I can continue to grow from, or I
Mm-hmm.
can deal with a little more? But I do think that there are some deal breakers that are like no exceptions to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what that is for some people, that all depends.
Mm-hmm.
I too, like you, I didn't come on the show today and say like I'm bringing out my journal like
Right.
from like over the years to say okay, this was one, this was a deal breaker, or
Yeah.
this was something that I absolutely would not have any exceptions to. But I do think when you get to like exceptions, a lot of that you may have flexibility in, but I only think that it is that much of a conversation is if when you're married to that person. So when you're married, I think that that is like that's supposed to be like it's supposed to be you and that person.
What are you talking about now?
So the deal breaker. He was like, oh, no, the deal breaker, but you said, are there any exceptions to the deal breaker? So I think that in a marriage,
You make
it would
exceptions.
it looks much different than an exception that you would give in a
Dating
if you're
relationship.
dating somebody in a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can have deal breakers, and some are more serious than others. I think there's a lot of factors that come into play, like the amount of time you've invested into this
Absolutely.
person. I don't know, I guess maybe what your deal breaker is. And are you going to be better off if you leave that
Yeah,
person?
true.
You know, I mean, because you could leave this person and then you end up right with someone else who's going to break that same deal that you have. If it's just an unreasonable deal, you know. So
Well, yeah, I think that, but that's something that we talked about in the last episode is about a risk.
yeah,
So for some people, you would risk somebody doing it once versus staying with somebody that's doing it repetitively. And
we all have our breaking point for
yeah,
sure.
so I think that you have to be very clear and very intentional about what your deal breakers are, and the person that you're dating. You have to be very clear and intentional about what your desires are for the relationship as well, like where we headed at with this kind of thing.
Here's what I would say to that. I would say yes. There's only so much that we can deal with. However, if it's a deal breaker, you need to, and you're gonna break the deal. You need to break it quick. And there's no sense in letting him, whatever the deal breaker is, letting him, make this
Multiple times or something.
right. Like if you've accepted it once, you've accepted it twice, and you didn't break it off, and then you wait a year or two, and then break the shit off in the beginning. Like why are we waiting years for you to break this off? You saw it in the beginning. Now you just wasted all this time when you knew it was there. If you're gonna break it, break it. If it's not a deal breaker, then just deal with it.
Well,
that's in my opinion.
I mean, yeah,
because you've already dealt with it. So why are you waiting years to finally end it over the same thing that he did years prior?
You know what? My response to that would be growth. Sometimes someone would accept something, or like if and this is if we can go like really deep into it because I get all like life coach on it. But
time. Let's go.
Sometimes people, and this is like man and woman, you may like, oh, I want this, or I feel like I deserve this.
You looking real sexy in that yellow, by the way.
Thank you, God. We kind of matching too.
Got that body suit. Right?
Thank you, baby.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
It's okay though. So sometimes people come into something a year or in the beginning, and they not know like their worth. They not know what they want. I'm not even.
How old are these people that we're talking about?
Yeah, well, it can go. But that goes to like somebody that's dating at 18. Let's say they met at 18.
I mean, maybe.
And at 25, they have grown, and hopefully both have grown.
Okay.
But sometimes
7 years is quite a long time to figure it out. So
hopefully they've grown together. But let's also be very clear in knowing that in not all relationships do people grow together. Like you have one that
is growing,
and one that is stagnant. They stayed there and they're like, well, shoot, that worked for us when we was 18. It should continue to work for us now.
Yeah.
And it can be the man or the woman.
Yeah.
But for that person that has grown, and that person is like, if you're trying to grow together and they're like, now I'm good, I'm not going to ever tell that man or that woman, well, if that was good for you then, that wasn't a deal breaker for you then, it shouldn't be a deal breaker for you now. Because the same, like who I am at 25, I'm not going to be at 30.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we have to be very, for me, I'm very like, just try to be very clear in that, and to saying like, if that was a deal breaker for you then, if you knew it then, don't wait 3 years or such and such. So just being intentional and clear on that.
Yeah. And I agree. In that scenario that you just gave, I'll give a little bit of grace, being that she's just a teenager or he's just a teenager. However, as you become an adult and as you get experience, it just all falls back into accountability. But at the end of the day, bottom line, whether you're 18 or whatever age you are, try to get it done quick. If it's gonna end and you feel like it's gonna end, wrap that shit up because you're wasting time. You're wasting
Well,
time.
I'm a person that I definitely feel for anybody that that is single, um, that are that's in a relationship. It is essential for you to sit and grow and experience growth and make sure that you're making sure that you are putting yourself and your relationship in a space for growth.
How do you grow though? Because just saying, take time to yourself to grow. If you don't know what you need to be doing to grow, then you're just sitting there wasting time.
So I would always tell someone that if you don't have a life coach, invest in a life coach. One, that I will tell you that. Two, invest in a life coach. If you are not there yet, a lot of people utilize, YouTube University or, do things for just how you have.
Or just go get a counselor.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, and if you can't, because some people.
I mean, like your life coach, but also like a psychologist.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you can't, because, there's such a stigma on that too. Like, I don't need
It's becoming more mainstream nowadays.
Now.
Yeah.
But even though some people still feel as if, like, I don't really want to spend my money on that. Like, my money can go elsewhere. But that's a process. So if you're not in that space as of yet that you feel like you want to invest in a life coach or a counseling or a therapist, just how you on your job you have to do professional development, personal development, read certain things.
Yeah, I don't want to hear like, what did you say? If you don't have the money or the
no,
time?
Some people say they don't want to spend their money on there. Like,
that's not an excuse.
It's not,
because we're talking about people who are taking time off to work on themselves.
Yeah.
So if you're taking time off to work on yourself, then damn it, work on yourself.
Yeah.
Spend the money to go get the counselor to fix whatever you need to fix, and get back out there. Because I mean, we only have so many years on this planet. Like, what are we doing?
So, that's his reality and his straightforwardness with you. This is me with my clients. If you sit down and you're like, everybody has, like, just because you want growth, that doesn't mean you're ready to spend money on the growth. So continual. Like, some people say, okay, I'll spend like, a couple sessions.
Fair enough. What other ways can you grow besides spending money then? Because they need to know something.
Right. So that's why I was getting to and saying that reading, like investing, like there's free material online. Like, you can find all types of readings like online. Or if you have an Amazon Prime account, there's like audio books on there that you get like literally $14.99 a month, and you have like every month you get a credit. Mm-hmm. So you have all of these books that, like, if you don't want to, if you're not a person that sit down and read, you can listen to this audio book while you're driving. Or podcasts, like how this is the Computer Love podcast. There are different podcasts that is specifically for personal growth, etc. So there are so many ways that you can begin your self growth, your personal development without having to physically spend the money at that particular point.
I think it's very important, though, that while you're going through this growth phase, that you have an intention on what you're trying to accomplish once you decide to get back out there.
Absolutely,
so if we're talking about you're growing just as a person, that's fine. I mean, you should always be doing that, whether dating or not. But if you're talking about trying to prepare yourself for your future partner, then I think that, reading is fundamental. Reading is always going to be good, but nothing is going to beat, actually getting out there and dealing with the opposite sex. I'm not saying for women, I'm not saying you need to go out there and just like have sex with everybody. You just go out there, you can date, and just kind of, learn about yourself through these dates. Like, go into it with a different intent to learn about yourself. Are you able to deal with a man, or, is it you or is it them? What is really the problem here? Talk to some of your exes. I know you said you talked to your exes and you asked them, I guess, how it was like to date you. That's a very powerful thing to do. And that is a type of growth that I think is going to help you through into the future.
So,
But just like
okay.
just like reading books and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you even know what to read, or if you read it, would you be able to apply it
Apply,
in real
absolutely.
world? So you spent a year or two reading books and just being by yourself, and now you going out to the dating world like, all right, let's see if this shit works,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, well, that's not really. I got to readjust and real world application, because what you learn at
Mm-hmm.
school and when you
Yeah.
actually go out there onto the job, a little bit different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm a piggyback on two things, but one of the things is absolutely you should definitely. I think, and for me, it's never to tell someone like don't date, but there are times when you're not dating, like, and it's healthy sometimes to like take a break in between dating, like or let me say this: dating is very different from you're hopping from relationship to relationship, because now you're just taking on like everything, every person, or you're exchanging powers or whatever it is. Even if you're not like you're not intimate with the person, but it's like energy and things like that. So if you are like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired of like I've been on some dates, I need some time, it's okay to like literally be by yourself for, if it's a month, if it's 2 months, whatever it is. That's not saying that you're going to be like, I'm single, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman, or whatever the case may be. But it's like in that time, in your single season, because everybody has a single season. It doesn't matter if your single season is 2 months or 6 months. It's just saying like when you have that time, utilize it.
Not everybody has a single season.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Some people just go hard
all the way through,
all
right?
year round.
Facts. But it's like, how is that working for you? I think that goes back to your intent. Like if you're good with it and there's no like you're not really trying to prepare yourself for anything more serious or whatever, then that's fine. But to roll into what you were saying as far as me personally, I have absolutely sat with myself in between like a relationship or dating someone. I believe in that. Everybody is not like me. You may not feel that way. But I absolutely, like, after dating or whatever, I was like, you know what? Like, I need some different perspectives. I'm really big on holding a mirror up. Like, I think that everybody needs to hold a mirror to themselves. Everybody does. Like, and that's a hard thing to do.
How do you hold a mirror to yourself?
So
What is your mirror? Who is your mirror?
first, I think that you literally need to look in the mirror. Like literally look in the mirror. Okay. Because sometimes you only look in the mirror like, oh, wash my face, brush my teeth. Like you're out the door.
What are they looking for when they look in the mirror?
Do I like this person that I see? And I mean, do you like who you see? Do you like the person that you are 365 days of the year?
I thought you were about to say you are 365 pounds.
Oh, no.
Do you like this person that you see? You need to get your ass in the gym.
No.
Okay.
But like, do you like who you see? Because something like people don't like to do that. Like that's a hard thing to do sometimes. And I literally did that. Like, do I like the person that is staring back at me? Because see, you can put on a front for me, but you can't put on a front for you. So I can show up for everybody else, and I can be like, hey y'all, like I can give you what I want you to see. But when I look in the mirror, I know the deep dark stuff. I know the thoughts that may have ran across my mind when I saw somebody, walk through. I know what I really did to somebody in this relationship, but I didn't share it with like you really know. So it's like when you look in that mirror literally and look in it, do I like the person that is staring back at me? And if there is something that you don't like, you need to sit with yourself and figure out like, why did I do that? Or why, like, was that just like a one-time thing? Was that like a mistake? And because we all make mistakes. But if it's a mistake, that's not going to stare back at you like in disgust.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something that you like, a characteristic and something that you do to people or you've done and you've like do it all the time, then something in you to say that you need to sit down with yourself and then you need to figure out like why. So that's a way that you can hold up a mirror to yourself.
Okay. Now people may do that and maybe they don't see anything. What are some other ways?
So that's going. I'm glad that you're walking this. Let's walk this through. Okay. So the next thing is go to the people that know you best. So for me,
just anybody who knows you best. Your mama.
I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Because your mama gonna tell you you're beautiful and she loves you and is a great person.
I can tell you right now.
So was your girlfriend.
Every woman or man should know a couple people in their lives that's going to give them what they like need to hear. You got some friends that's going to be like, girl, you did that. Like you do it every time. Or, but you have some people, or every woman or man should have at least one person that they know that is going to give them the good, the bad, the ugly.
And we're talking about relationships here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about relationships. But what I'm saying
go ahead.
What I'm saying is you have someone that have seen you through relationships.
Yes.
So, and this, I'm talking very specific right now. This is my experience. I sat down with myself, and this was just in January that I did that.
Well, I definitely appreciate you for preparing yourself for me, babe. For getting yourself together and making you the perfect woman that you are for me. I really appreciate that.
You're so silly.
Like when she came into my life, like this is the music I heard. It was like angelic when you walked into my life. So I appreciate you taking the time to get yourself together.
Yo, he is so excited about this new. If you have not noticed, however, I want to be very clear because I'm so excited. I'm glad that has happened and you feel that way, and I'm still not perfect. I want to be clear on it. But when you do this, you have to do it not expecting somebody to be on the other side of it when you finish.
What you mean by that?
So I did it, but I wasn't expecting you to be here a month later or 2 months later. You see what I'm saying?
What was your intent?
My intent was for whoever I'm going to be with, that I believe in wholeness. That I want to make sure that I am whole. I want to make sure that there isn't anything that needs to be repaired or that I need to fine tune or whatever. Because again, in relationships, in dating, in life, you are going to be bumped, you're going to be bruised, you're going to be shaken, and you need to take time to fine tune, to fix, to repair all of that. So for me, that's what it was. It was like, okay, let me, I do this. I've done this several times, but I want to like make sure I'm clear. So the first thing I did was I looked at myself in the mirror. Did that. The second thing was I had a female friend that has been with me for years. So they've seen me in relationships. They know the good, the bad, the ugly. Then I went to a platonic male friend that have been he's been through and seen me through different, relationships.
Ladies, make sure the man, it truly is a platonic friend because, I'll let you finish before I comment. Go ahead.
Okay. And then third is the next. So I think for me, like I said, I sat down several times with myself, but I think that this was the first time that I felt like, you know what? I'm going to get an X in on this because, it's a difference from a platonic male friend who's like, who's a brother, who's a friend, but they still haven't seen you in the relationship. So it was important for me to say, you know what, there was an ex that, it's...
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
I didn't mean to do that.
It was completely over. And, but I felt like there was still enough like respect with this person to know that we would never be back together or anything. But I felt enough respect that he would also tell me if there's something about myself, he would feel like, he would do it in a way that was caring, that would say, you know what, I think you are an amazing person. Like you are whatever. But here are some things that I feel
what
like.
if he didn't think you were an amazing person?
That's your experience. So that's what I'm saying. But for some people, you may not have an ex that you can go back to and have that conversation.
Or maybe if you have an ex who is so. All right, you said that you went back to your ex who still has like respect for you and all that.
No, so I'm saying.
What if you have an ex who doesn't have respect for you? Shouldn't that be the one you talk to figure out why he doesn't like you anymore?
But that's
instead of the one who still likes you.
No, that's if you can have a conversation with that person. So that's what I'm saying. Like when I say respect, I mean enough to have a conversation. Because if it ended in a way that I don't care, like you can't tell me.
You're talking about like, oh, you were great or no.
Oh, no.
I'm saying if they feel like that, then what kind of feedback are they really giving you?
So what I'm saying, and again, you have to figure out what works for you. Yeah. And anybody that is going to sit with themselves, anybody that is going to hold a mirror to themselves, and anybody that wants to go as far as getting people that know you or have had interaction with you, then you have to decide who you're going to go to. Or who, I think you're making some great points. You have to make sure that if you're going to get somebody, you're not getting a friend that's just going to tell you everything that you want to hear. Like if you're doing that, you're defeating the purpose. So let's be intentional about why you're doing this process. So you should really want to make sure you're going to get somebody that's going to tell you, girl, like, I love you, but I just, like, I feel like you do too much X, Y, Z. You give too much too soon. Like, you may not want to hear that, but that's what you do. Like, you need to fall back sometimes. Like, just whatever. I'm just saying, like, whatever this person tells you, be ready to hear what they tell you. Like, you have to be able to receive someone's feedback from it. That don't mean you have to take everything that they say, but listen to their feedback. That's their perception. Like, that's what they see. And you can't tell them like, well, no, I didn't mean it like that. Like, you literally have to sit and see and hear what that person is telling you. So every person is not in that place where you're ready for that. And if you're not, that's fine. However, if you're saying that you're truly ready to hold a mirror up to yourself and you're truly ready to have people that know you and that will be honest with you, give you their version of how they see you, then you have to take that, sit with it, and see what you want to do with that information next.
Amen. Very good. That's powerful. I don't know. I know that that's a good idea to do, to talk to an ex, to figure out, what was their experience dating you. Most people will not do that.
Yeah. So
that's kudos to you on doing that. You definitely are. You walk the walk. You don't just talk the talk. So I commend you on that one.
Yeah. It can.
You get a round of applause.
I'm still getting used to this thing, y'all. It's hilarious. But it can be hard to look at yourself physically in the mirror. But it all, what do you want? And that it always boils down to that. What are your intent?
I will say that if you don't have, you definitely got to be very careful about who you ask for this.
Yeah.
If it's just I think that it's best to ask somebody of the opposite sex to give you, because I think that is your mirror, because that is who you're trying to attract. So if you want to be with a man, then you should get a man's opinion on you. And if you're a man, you should get a woman's opinion on you. But it's tricky because especially for women, because there's a lot of men who will just tell you what they want to tell you because they just want to have sex with you. So finding somebody who's platonic like you did is very important. But I think to get the real honest feedback I think the opposite sex is your mirror.
So I agree to disagree.
Okay.
And it's simply because when you're holding up the mirror, like I said, it's not just to attract the opposite sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, the mirror in who you are, sometimes it's like, if that characteristic is there, it's there. So it's something that is seen, like, so that's why it's important for me. It was important to get a woman who's been there, who's seen it,
But
a man, platonic, who's, seen it. So when you're holding up the mirror, for me, it wasn't just because I want to be this person for the man. Like, I want to be this person because that's who I need to be for me. Like, that's who I need to be whole when this man, like, approaches or whatever. Or when we begin building, that these characteristics will not only be beneficial to him, but to our offspring.
And I think the best person to do that for you would be the opposite sex, because that's who you want. So I think, like, it was good, but you did go to the opposite sex. You went to platonic male.
So
you went to
that's
an
what I'm
ex.
saying. It's good, definitely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm not. So I disagree to say that should. I don't think that should be the only source that you go to.
I'm just speaking from the perspective of dating. So
I agree.
like we're talking about dating and trying to find that person. So I think that if you want to make yourself better for the person you're looking for, you need to talk to the opposite sex. I mean, a woman can tell you whatever she wants to tell you, but until you talk to a man, then you actually will understand,
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So, and I think that conversations with men should happen more than it probably is happening with, a lot of women. And so I think that that's honestly a part that a lot of women don't share.
And just for me, I would want the opinion of a woman to give me an honest opinion of me. Like, I wouldn't want to hear it from one of my boys to tell me what's wrong with me. I respect their opinion. Like, if they tell me I'm an asshole or I'm whatever, then I will respect that, and I can use that as a mirror. But in terms of relationships, I think, like talking to an ex or something like that is very powerful.
Yeah. Talking to an ex, talking to a platonic male friend, and women, please talk to the important men in your life. Like, if your father is in your life, some conversations women don't want to have with the men in there, like, because they're like, no, I don't really want to, I don't want to include him in that. Like, but this is what you've seen in a man. Whatever you've seen, like if it was an uncle, if it was a college, like, professor, whatever, these are men that you should definitely be talking to. So I'm not telling you that the only men that you should be talking to is like an ex. It should be men that have seen you, like, because even if somebody isn't dating you, they see you. A man can see you.
They see how you move. They watch.
Right. So I would 100%, and they can tell you, especially one that have seen you over the years, because that's why I said I went to a platonic male friend, because he's been my friend platonically for years. So he's seen how I move over the years.
Yeah.
If you go to your father, he's seen how you move for years.
But they also love you too, so.
But if you have a good father, great father, he's not going to tell you just what you want to hear.
That's
I
right.
think he'll tell you something that probably will have you like driving home crying. Like.
And if you don't have that, then you're gonna have to find that.
Exactly.
And ladies, if you want to talk to a man who's gonna tell it to you true, holla at me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. You know I will.
They're not calling you.
Not call me. Like, drop a message.
Oh yeah, they can.
I can't help. Oh, you can talk. You can talk to whoever you want to talk to, but can't nobody call me.
Who talks to me?
You're a life coach. You talk to people.
Yeah, that's a business.
Yeah, and this is I'm helping people out.
No. If y'all want to talk to him, holla at him, as he said on the Computer Love Podcast. He definitely can give you some feedback.
I'm trying to launch my pro bono life coach business.
Yeah, until it launches.
I'm pro bono.
Until it launches, you will speak to him through this.
Send a question then. If she doesn't want to let you call, send a question. I'll answer it.
They can call in here.
You can actually call in
to the show.
And I'll talk to you live on the show, and we can break it down.
Yes, he can. Just like that.
If you need
I support that, honey.
If you need a male perspective, I got you.
I support you, honey.
All right, what we got, love? This is you. You've been talking. You've been talking. You've been dropping some nuggets too. So good. Let's go. What we got?
All right.